Hey everyone, welcome to Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. Boy, 2020 is turning out to be quite a year. A lot of things happening. We were going to have Joe Dean from Fine Feathers Kombucha on this week, but we decided with everything that's been going on over the weekend and frankly since, March, and, we would just talk to you guys and talk on our own and just give it an open platform. We'll take callers, so you guys can just post in the comments. And if you want to come on screen, I'll Facebook message you the link to join us, and we'll keep you on for a little while and move on if there's someone else that wants to talk. And one thing, if I can ask you, please, we've got like a little small audience, and we're so very grateful for that. But we want to grow, so help us grow our garden. And you can do that by sharing, inviting, creating a watch party and bringing people to the watch party. However, I think I can't see your comments if you're in the watch party, so maybe no watch party. But if you could like our page, sign up for the notifications when we go live, and invite other friends to watch it, that would be great. And if you're not into watching and you want to experience this like a podcast, just don't look and just listen. I'm all in for that. That's all right. I mean, sometimes it's just like I go to sleep every night with a podcast. That's like really helped just like when I need to get out of my head, I like to listen to KPCC, 99% Invisible, just like soothing stories and voices. And I think that's why podcasts are so popular. Thanks for joining us. Right now we have 7 viewers. Thank you very much. I can't see 8. I can't see who it is, but if you comment, I can see who it is. I'm going to bring Keri on and we're going to get started. Okay, let's bring Keri on. Keri. Hi, Keri.
Hey, Heather. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Good to see you, man. It's been quite a week, huh?
Yeah.
This is quite a week for sure. It's for me, it's been quite a couple of weeks actually. I wasn't able to join everybody last week. We had some family stuff going on that we needed to attend to, and it turns out that after chatting with some friends, a lot of people have gone through what we're going through, which is transitioning a very special person in our family into some assisted living, and so getting her settled. So that, and then coupled with, just in general, pandemic and social injustice and tension and protesting and finding a voice. It's been, I'm glad to be able to meet up with friends for a drink tonight to kind of unpack everything and just talk about, what's been going on. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be part of the city and part of everything that's happening. I'm sure Heather mentioned, I kind of stopped in a little bit late today, so my apologies. I'm sure Heather mentioned that we're going to be, we want to talk to you. You're our special guest tonight. So, we can bring you into the conversation. You can post comments. We're going to do our best to, make sure we get everyone's voice heard, which I think is, gosh, isn't that the biggest thing right now? Is just finding your voice and like having a voice and making sure your voice is heard. And if you don't want to be vocal, you can choose to express yourself in different ways, which is what I've been finding as well. This is honestly, I'll just jump right in and say this is the first time that I've attended a protest. This is the first time that I've been vocal in public with my voice, because I'm appalled at what's happening. See me just jumping right into the heavy stuff, right? And it was a challenge, and it was a fear for me to go out there, and it was a fear that I conquered. And I'll just say it was a fear because I don't like big crowded spaces, and I don't like unpredictable situations. I like to have a plan. And so, but I did it anyway. You just kind of.
And was it everything you hoped and wished and expected? Yeah. Or, what was the most gratifying part of it, and what was the most difficult part of it?
So it was everything that I wanted. It was everything I thought it was going to be. It was emotional. It was empowering. I feel like I'm going to use some pretty cliche words here, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't care. It was incredible to be around and part of what I feel at this point is a global statement against. It's a global statement that what is happening and what has been happening to a significant portion of our population for such a long time is intolerable. And it's time for change,
But it's been time for change for so long.
Girl,
I mean,
yeah.
This is the thing. This is the struggle. This is the frustration. And, I grew up in a house that protested. My parents were civil rights activists, and they were, I can't brag that it was me. It was what they did. I've done a little bit, but, they were always really proud of that, instilled that in me, and instilled the question everything kind of thing.
Right.
Dig deeper, critically think about, put yourselves in the other person's shoe, all of these things. And it's so frustrating. Like, I posted some questions the other day, like, have you felt outrage? Have you wanted to throw something at, like, I just know, like, in a like fight about who's cleaning what, sometimes when you feel like you don't feel heard, or you want someone's attention, you want to like throw the throw pillow across the room, or, sometimes I want to pick up the TV. In my head, I have these Ally McBeal moments where I'm like,
totally. Yes.
I learned at a young age that throwing things across the room was not effective. But that doesn't mean that I don't mentally, like, have that feeling sometimes. And it's the power of united voices. That feeling of solidarity is something that, I think people find in church every Sunday. People find in their organizations, and but injustice seems so clear to me. I think
same. Yeah.
I see different people asking different questions about what happened with this recent incident. Like, someone asked, was it because he was Black? Did he actually?
Would it happen if he was would it have happened if he was a white man? Is that what they meant? Would he have been killed?
Like, did he murder him intentionally? Did he put his knee on him because he was Black? And, you can pick apart a moment, but this is about 400 years and more. Right. So this is about something that is already in your head. When you drive up, you get the call, you already have an idea. Yep. When you pull up in your car, you already have an idea. When you see the person, you size them up, you already have an idea. These are things that lead into it. I think, with a lot of injustices, it's about classism and everybody's position of power in the world.
Yeah.
And frankly, on a corporate level, the planet gets looted every day. We're dumping in the ocean, plowing rainforests, everyone. It's just, there's so many topics I can get into here. I don't want to get in the weeds.
It's broad.
I think that what I want to get into with you too is that we both are very connected, especially to Pine Avenue. Mm-hmm. And, I was not there when all hell started to break loose, but you were there from the beginning of the protest. And so why don't you talk a little bit about how it started? I know it was kind of chaotic, where it ended, and how you felt when you left. Did you think that this was going to happen?
So let me preface all that by saying first, hey, Tori, I see you. Nice to see you. And thanks for jumping in. And I will also say that I was raised by a police officer. I was raised by a cop. My dad joined the Anaheim Police Department at the age of 14 as an explorer. And he retired a jillion years later as a lieutenant. And he served in multiple facets in the police department. He was a detective. He worked, special events. He worked in the '84 Olympics. He's worked in Homeland Security. He's worked in a lot. And so I had always had instilled in me, like you were talking about, you being raised by protesters, my dad definitely taught me to be aware of the entire situation at all times. Always look for the troublemaker and go in the opposite direction. Always have an exit strategy, always walk in with a plan. And so, you know, I show up for things like this and I'm like, what's the quickest route back to my car? Do I have my ID in my bra? You know, like things like that, you know? So, which is probably why I haven't gone to a lot of protests, because I do a lot of planning and I just get paranoid, you know, I'm just going to admit it. I'm paranoid. And so going into this,
it's hard. It is like, you know, any crowd is really frightening.
It's unpredictable.
I'll just throw in like a scariest moment I had was, this is going to sound so ridiculous, but I was at New Year's Eve in Las Vegas on the Strip. Mm-hmm. And because of problems they had in the past, they had put up these barriers in the island. Mm-hmm. And there was at one point when I was in this pocket of people that it was like, you know, the crowd is moving you. You're so sandwiched.
Yeah.
I was so panicked.
So this protest was, you know, the original one, I think the first day. And it wasn't like that. People were appropriately spread out. And there was chanting and there were signs and there was a huge diverse crowd. And I was grateful to be a part of it for sure. We peeled off a couple of times just because, you know, it's a lot of walking. It's a lot of like, get your bearings. Where are we going? How far down are we? Are we part of the main group? Is there a secondary group? Again, questions, you know, me just like, I'm like, what's next? Are we going to turn? Are we going to go to Ocean? I thought this was going to Promenade, you know, all that stuff. So, but I will stress 100% that being a part of it, being able to be a voice, because there's a lot of people, you know, like me who haven't been out before and weren't going to go out and couldn't go out because they're not ready to go out and, you know, throw a fist in the air and be that voice for other people. And I get that. And I fully 100% respect that. I encourage them to find their voice, but I'm happy to be that voice for those people because I know that experience. I know that feeling. So the protest was great. I mean, I kind of anticipated that things would start to shift a little. So around 4:00, we were out there about early, like 1:30, 2:00. So by about 4:15, I definitely started to feel a shift. Like the people who were there to protest were amazing. And it was an incredible group. And there were some great organizers saying a lot of amazing things that, you know, we were walking through pockets of different protesters but I could definitely feel a shift. Like you could feel like there's a lot more people coming in and it gets uncertain and it gets unsteady. And at that point I peeled off and I was like, guys, you know, I give this about 30 minutes before you start to hear loud noises that you don't know where they're coming from, that kind of stuff, you know, before someone yells and then 20 people scatter and you're not sure why. And then that starts to keep happening again. And it didn't happen. I mean, again, I'm going to stress the protesters that I were with were amazing. The whole group was amazing.
Keri, were there, in the beginning, were there organized speakers?
So I think that we got to the main place over at the library, the courthouse.
Library.
It was the library. We got there just right before everybody started walking up. So we didn't hear any organizers, but as we were coming back towards the police department, we stopped at Long Beach Boulevard and Broadway, and it was organized. Like there were people with bullhorns, and the group had stopped in the intersection, and there was a lot of vocalization of the frustration. You know, you knew you were in a movement. We are here to demand change. And that's what it felt like. I mean, there are so many times, you know, on that, it's like a 2-mile walk, 2.5 miles, which is not, I mean, people walked much farther than I did, but I'm old and I'm pasty and I was getting sunburned and sorry, but I had to take that into consideration and I was tired and whatever, it doesn't matter. I cried many times, you know, I was just crying because look at what we're doing. You know, I was part I was so aware. I was 18 years old in 1992 during the Rodney King riots in LA. And I was so hyper aware of what was happening and why it was happening. And so like heartbroken for the whole fucking thing. And it just pulled back so many emotions for me, again, as a bystander. I mean, I'm a white girl. I've been let off of, like being pulled over by the cops for shit that I should have gotten a ticket for, and they let me go, and I've never been targeted or pulled out of a crowd or any of that stuff. And just, like I was just so, I personalized all of it so much. And I was crying, and it was good to cry. It was good to feel all of that anger and frustration and fuck, why is this still happening? Why 30 years later, why 28 years later, we are still having to do this. And people that I love and people in my community, brothers and sisters everywhere, are still having to experience this. Yeah. And then I felt like
one thing that I think is really interesting is like, if there's ever anything happening, I don't mean to make it light, but I'm just going to make it light for a minute, is that Mike and I were at a Gary Newman concert at the Observatory and a fight broke out.
Yeah.
And I fucking lost my shit. I was screaming so goddamn loud for probably 3 minutes straight, because as soon as anyone starts any kind of violence, I'm convinced someone's going to die. And so I'm that crazy white girl that stands there on the side of the ring of the fight and just screams. Yeah. But I also don't have a fear of any repercussions from freaking the fuck out. Like I don't have, I've always felt empowered and emboldened to speak up for justice and things like that, because no one's ever stopped me. Right. No one's ever shut me up. No one's ever told me, you can't talk like that. You can't do this. Or I didn't grow up in a culture like my immediate culture that told me not to, or that I could be in trouble for doing any of that. Like, so, and my dad, sorry, ratting you out, Dad, but it was a little bit of fuck authority. He was pretty proud of that kind of thing.
A little bit. I mean, come on. I've met your dad. It's probably a lot of fuck authority is what it is.
Yeah. And then Maria wants me to talk about my mom. So my mom was a school teacher, and she taught elementary school at 122nd Street in LA Unified, which is sandwiched between Compton and Watts. And she was a Blacktivist. Like she was a super civil rights activist. And that was her issue. Like that was like, that was her number one thing. She grew up in Ohio. I think she saw a lot of, bad things, or saw a lot of injustice that really upset her. Right. And when she died in 1997, and at her funeral, a young Black man stood up and he said that his grandmother and my mother, they were friends. He said he didn't think that Black and white people could be friends.
Oh, wow.
And it was because of their friendship that he was so it's really sweet.
That's very sweet. And it's so important to hear those kinds of personal experience stories, right? Like to know that I don't know. I have to say, like, sometimes I watch the news and I listen to people talk, and I feel like people think that the civil rights movement was like a fucking 100 years ago, like
it feels like it because they don't say that, like vernacular has changed.
Sure, it has. Yeah, definitely. And we get caught up in popular culture, and we get caught up in just day-to-day stuff, and we forget.
Well, aren't we a little apathetic? Like the reason the shit has to hit the fan is because there's protests all the time.
Right.
And things don't happen. And there's anger and outrage all the time, and things don't happen. I remember like years ago, there was this whole union busting thing going on in Wisconsin, and there was the most giant demonstration where guys were there with tractors and everything. Well, they still just fucking went ahead and did what they want to do. They didn't give a shit. It was like,
sure.
And then you have the president saying like, there's no leadership there at all. There's, hey, in fact, he decided when the looting starts, the shooting starts. What the fuck is that?
Well, it's ignorance.
I get it.
And it's
you and I are very connected to people who lost things in Sunday night, but
Yeah.
People over profit. Products are not more important than things are not more important than people's lives.
Sure. Oh my God, 100%. And, you know, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to talk about the president because my head might literally explode because I'm just so giantly frustrated. I will say that I saw Obama talk today in a virtual town hall, and it was comforting. You know, it was leadership. It was, you know, we don't have to devolve into full-on hatred of each other. We don't have to be divided. We can come to solutions if we talk. It was communication. You know, it was like the great communicator kind of a situation, and it was uplifting. It was heartfelt, and it was wonderful. And yeah, to just to speak to what you were saying, Heather, you know, we are connected to a lot of businesses. My husband's home. He's walking around. He just got home. So, you know, we are connected to a lot of businesses. Tori wants to know, I'm just going to pause here for a sec.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what you think about the city and the police response to the looting. Baby, you can't hide. Everybody sees you in the mirrors. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
This is what I think from someone who grew up in a protest family and who's gone to protesters. The police, as usual, overreact to the protesters, right? They are so convinced that the demonstrators are going to do a lot of horrible things. Now, we did see previous to Sunday demonstrations in other cities where cop cars were getting lit on fire. And that's the kind of violent protesting that you see that is what they, I guess, were bracing for. And so it was really sad to see at least one of the situations that kind of started in the beginning was the store that's only 3 doors down from Maid, Outfitters, and they were literally 20 feet away. And I think that there was space to, you know, keep the protesters at bay. Here's what happens at the protests. These protesters want to get up in the faces of these cops. They want to be heard, and they want to provoke and yell and scream and all that. And the cops really just need to stand there and take it until things go worse.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then I think that they could have peeled off a few cops to deal with it. And at one point they did. Yeah. And a bunch of the people ran out of the store. They didn't stop any of them. And then they went back to the corner and the looters went back in. So it's a really tough job. I mean, you come from a house, you know, a home where there was a police officer.
Yeah.
So
here's my kind of take on it. Yeah. Most of the looting started down at the Pike, which is maybe a half mile away from Ocean Boulevard, right? Is that, would you think, quarter mile, half mile? Not sure.
Mile. Like
quarter mile. Yeah. So, but definitely like a different area. And there was a protest that was happening on the corner of Ocean and Pine at the time when the looting started at the Pike. So I'm just going to put this out there. Long Beach has a total population of give or take 450,000 people. The total size of the city of Long Beach is, I don't even know, but it's giant, right? Like
our population's just under 500,000.
Sorry, yeah. So I think it's 470.
Census, yeah.
Yeah, so 478,000, I think, right around there. So any idea how big the police force is?
Probably small. I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's no way to handle. Listen, if people really knew.
Just to say, there's 782 police on the force in the city of Long Beach, in the entirety of the city of Long Beach, which is a giant area. And once the looting started happening at the Pike, you know, you've got people who are busting into these giant stores, and I'm sure the police got 4,000 phone calls in one day, like in one night. You know, they usually get 1,000 phone calls in a full 24-hour period, and they got 4,000 phone calls in like a 6 or 7 hour period, which is, you know, that's a huge increase. And so just to say, like, if you start getting reports of looters, there's no idea, the police have no idea how many looters are coming into the store at one time. They have no idea how, you know, do we send 5 cops down there and then get overrun by 300 people pouring out of the H&M or the Target or whatever it was that they hit? So it takes time, and it takes it takes prep, and everyone's on tactical alert, and you've got pockets of things happening in very different parts of the city. And then you can't just race your cars down Pine because Pine's blocked in 5 different locations. And then you don't know where other pockets of protesters are going. And so,
well, there's protesters. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wrap it up by saying, the protesters, I think, were the focus until the looting started. And then everything changes tactically because you've got bands of cars that are coming in 4 and 5 at a time with 5 people in each car. They're pulling in front of buildings. They're jumping out. They're busting windows. They're grabbing shitloads of stuff and throwing it in the car and then running out. It was taking advantage of the perfect, like the police were distracted by the protesters, and then looters descend, and then other people take advantage of that situation. So that's just my take on what was happening with the looters.
Things, my dad said to me is, when you have an impoverished class, you have a criminal class. And so, when you have, it's when you don't think society cares about you.
Yeah.
Why should you care?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's totally. Not to say that every single person that participated, I don't even know, is a product of any of that. I can't even fathom who all was there. I know for a fact that they came with crowbars and saws and hammers, and knew, at least some people, it seemed like what I witnessed was that it was vape stores, clothing and shoe stores,
pharmacies,
stores, and drug stores. Restaurants generally, except La Opera. Boy, that was sad. But you and I were there on Monday morning. Maid did not get hit. It was insane, but the cops basically had their base camp, like command post, in front of Maid.
Yeah.
So we were fine, but our back, I guess, was still vulnerable. And I was like looking for every friggin' live feed I could from home. And I was just like, oh my God. And then I saw a picture of what was happening at Schneider Jewelry.
So that kind of tails into, my friend Christine is on. Hey, Christine, I'm just reading your comment over here, which is awesome. She's talking about media coverage, right? And she's talking about tons of comments on Instagram and large accounts that she follows. And just how the media, we all know the media has their spin, right? You can watch 5 channels at the same time and they've all got the same narrative that they're just spewing out. Like it's useless. Basically, I found it very useless to watch local news because they were all the first night focused on the fire. Well, Long Beach is a giant city. I want to know what the fuck is happening in other places. Like, take your helicopters away from that fire, which was under control. The firemen were there. They were doing their job. Like, I want to know what is happening everywhere else, That's just me. Anyway, so she's just saying, we have to rely, my friend Jessica, hey, that's why we have to rely on one another for coverage. And that's why I signed up for Twitter. It's been 85 years since Twitter came out. I mean, 2 days ago, I finally made a Twitter account because, that's how I'm going to actually know what's happening in real life and in real places, And
I know that like half the people at these demonstrations are people who are actually capturing footage, right? So that's been my experience. So I was just looking on YouTube. I know there's people down on the street with their cameras looking for, YouTube Live. I couldn't find one on Facebook because, you have to be friend with the right person that's there doing that. But I did find this guy that was above the porch on a patio above the stave. And so he was watching Broadway and Pine. And then there was another guy who was walking around. And so I was like the people on the street perspective.
Yes.
And then actually one of the store owners, Elizabeth from Long Beach Vintage, she was live streaming Facebook because she was standing in front of her store, a vintage shop, Long Beach Vintage Antique. And they're on Pine between 7th and 8th. And Andy from Toxic Toast Records, I think the guys from the tattoo shop, they were all
standing. The barber shop.
The
barbershop next to Geo's.
And down by Geo as well. And they were able to stave off quite a few.
Yeah, and Crest Market, the 70-year-old, the beautiful and amazing 70-plus-year-old owners of Crest Market were like posted up inside their shop chasing away looters who were busting out a window. Jorge and his wife it's Jorge, right?
Yeah, Javier.
Javier, sorry. Yeah, they were there just defending their property. And, while we're all watching it happen, you and I are on a group text with a couple local business owners, trying to keep each other informed of what we're hearing on different social media posts and whatever. And, we saw a couple of our friends' shops get their windows broken and had to talk a friend off the ledge of going down there because, it's one thing. We know friends who did go down, right? Like they went down to defend Crest.
But I just took a Xanax and was like, it is what it is. And if I have to spend the next 2 weeks cleaning up shop, and then that's what I have to do. There's just no, look at me. But I do have it.
You're beautiful. You could have scared those bitches off. You've been like,
Keri, I had a tactic. My tactic was to like stand there and be like a dumb white girl and be like, I'm waiting for a friend and I saw them heading up Pine, or, like they went that way. Are you looking for Joey? Joey's waiting for you in his car in the garage. I don't know.
Right.
We're taking their pictures because I saw some people today started posting pictures of the people who.
Well, that's what's happening
now. Handfuls.
I will tell you that's what's happening now is that law enforcement's asking for, any kind of photographic evidence or documentation of looters because, anytime we've seen looting experiences, anywhere else, they will follow up and they will arrest people. And it might take a week for them to track it down. But hey, people, we live in a world of facial recognition technology. We're going to figure out who you are. Like your pissed off ex-girlfriend's going to rat you out because she knows it was you because she heard it from, whatever. And again, just to circle back around and say, the people who were committing the violence against the businesses, definitely, I feel, fuck those guys. You're taking it away from, you're destroying a community, which is ridiculous. You're taking a complete advantage of an actual situation in this country where unarmed people are being killed on the streets. And, my heart just breaks for this whole situation, right? But mostly it's like, we have to keep the focus on that. Unarmed citizens in our country, America, by the way, FYI, America, are being killed while being videotaped. Their murder is happening while being videotaped. And so that is always the focus. And that's what we're standing up for. And there were protests today in Orange County. There's more protests scheduled. There's another sit-in, I believe, scheduled for tomorrow. We had friends that were in a peaceful protest this afternoon. There were 2 different locations in Long Beach where there was a peaceful protest. Like Garden Grove and Santa Ana and Newport Beach, there's protests happening. Obviously, we see this stuff up in LA. Amy said there's a protest walking down Ocean right now at Linden, headed towards downtown, and that's Long Beach. And there's another one I saw a flyer for tomorrow at 3:00. And P.S. I saw a graphic yesterday on the news. There's a protest happening in all 50 states. When the fuck have we all 50 states come together for one cause?
Hands across America.
Thanks. Yeah. We are the world. We are the world. I don't know. And not only every single state in this country, but 500 person peaceful protest in Anaheim. Yeah, it was awesome. Kids, high school kids in Garden Grove organized a protest walking down the streets of Garden Grove today. And it's happening internationally too. We're seeing lists like Berlin, Amsterdam, London, like all the major cities internationally. So that also speaks to the fact that the world is watching what happens in this country. I'm just going to say it again. The world is watching what happens in this country. And when y'all know where I stand as far as politics go.
Go ahead.
When we have leadership that is advocating for deploying the military on its own citizens, that's what our leadership is doing today and yesterday. And they're co-opting religious, beautiful, heartfelt, amazing religious institutions for photo opportunities. That is not leadership. That is...
that was awful.
That's reality TV. That's what that is. That's bullshit. what we need is leadership and guidance from our elected officials. And I will just remind everyone that if you are not registered to vote in November, get your ass registered to vote. Go make a change and make sure that you're voting for your local politicians, and make sure you know who your mayor is, and make sure you know, leadership in quotes. Exactly.
It's a trickle up. I was saying to someone this week, like, the Tea Party was really fucking smart. They understood because, and they plotted and planned and planted, elected officials at city council level and worked their way up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was one of the flaws of Occupy, was that we could not get anyone. There wasn't like a strong message. But before we move on, I have just a 2-minute little speech that I want to play for you. It's really powerful. Let's see if I can get it to play.
Yeah, Scarlett, the world is watching and no one is laughing.
Coordinated activity happening across this nation. And so
this one has music, so I'm going to look for a different one. It was on Mike's page, but now it's censored for some reason.
Oh, goodness. Was it talking about how police are leading people? Is that?
It's just a really good speech by this woman, Tamika, and it's just really powerful, and it will bring like tears to your eyes.
Oh, good. I need more tears. Thanks, Heather. That's awesome. Yes. Vote. Exactly. And encourage your friends to vote. And I'm just going to say, while Heather's looking for this 2-minute video, that what's really important, I think, too, is to encourage young people to vote. I'm 46 years old, and I think of myself as a young person, but really I'm not. I'm middle-aged, I guess, at this point, and I don't want to ever say that out loud. But you know what? Young people are super apathetic. And when I'm talking about young people, I'm talking about, 17 to 25 tend to be really apathetic. And I think it's our job as the more experienced crowd to remind them that if they don't exercise their right to vote, then they're going to get fucking stomped on.
It's true. And I have a new challenge for people, something I was thinking about today, because I saw this really powerful statement by Ben and Jerry, and I posted all of it. And the thing is I feel like people should stop posting like links to articles and with just the photo and the headline and expect us to read it. How about from now on, you copy and paste the entire article with the link so that people can go and verify where it is? But how about you give us more with your post? Because the reality is we are a victim of the Drudge Report and Breitbart and HuffPost and all that. We are clickbait, we just, how many times do you find yourself starting a comment and you go, oh, wait, I should actually go read it. And then you read it and you go, oh, good thing I didn't post that, because turns out the answer was already in the article, or I was going to, it's not what it sounds like. But I think the expectation for people to go further and read it, maybe you didn't even read it yourself. You just think it looks good, and so you share it. Actually read the article and then take something out of it, even not a whole thing, just like pull out a little paragraph.
That's what I like to do. Yeah. I like
the part that you got from this. Why should I care? What do you care about it?
Right. That's kind of that's typically my goal if I'm posting articles, and guaranteed I don't do that 100% of the time. But, when I'm posting,
hang on.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
All right. Are you ready for it? I'm not going to show the video. I'll just play the audio.
Okay, go.
And tell me if it needs to go lower or anything. This is Tamika Mallory, and this is a speech in Minneapolis.
This is a coordinated activity happening across this nation. And so we are in a state of emergency. Black people are dying in a state of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot look at this as an isolated incident. The reason why buildings are burning are not just for our brother George Floyd. They're burning down because people here in Minnesota are saying to people in New York, to people in California, to people in Memphis, to people all across this nation, enough is enough. And we are not responsible for the mental illness that has been inflicted upon our people by the American government, institutions, and those people who are in positions of power. I don't give a damn if they burn down Target, because Target should be on the streets with us, calling for the justice that our people deserve. It was AutoZone at the time when Philando Castile was shot in a car, which is what they actually represent. Where were they? So if you are not coming to the people's defense, then don't challenge us when young people and other people who are frustrated and instigated by the people you pay. You are paying instigators to be among our people out there, throwing rocks, breaking windows, and burning down buildings. And so young people are responding to that. They are enraged. And there's an easy way to stop it. Arrest the cops. Charge the cops. Charge all the cops. Not just some of them. Not just here in Minneapolis. Charge them in every city across America where our people are being murdered. Charge them everywhere. That's the bottom line. Charge the cops. Do your job. Do what you say this country is supposed to be about, the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired. Don't talk to us about looting. Y'all are the looters. America has looted Black people. America looted the Native Americans when they first came here. So looting is what you do. We learned it from you. We learned violence from you. We learned violence from you. The violence was what we learned from you. So if you want us to do better, then damn it, you do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 100%, you know, yeah, I saw that clip and I've watched it a couple of times. It's awesome that you shared it with us, Heather. It's
the outrage is there.
Yeah, for sure. So just a couple of things, you know, we've got a couple comments from people. And again, our guest today is you. So I just want to take a minute. You know, people are talking about like voting. Yeah, vote intelligently. Learn what and who we're voting for. Don't just grab your ballot and run out and like punch the name that seems familiar enough. Like, pay attention to who your judges are. Pay attention to who your district attorney is. Pay attention to who the attorney general is. Pay attention to these are elected positions, you know?
And fucking call them and write them.
Fucking call them and write them.
When you write, you're everybody's reachable. You can tweet them, you can Facebook them. Like, never in a time has it ever been easier to reach someone, an elected official, in some way. Maybe they're representative, but they represent that person.
It makes a difference. It makes a difference. And again, like Angela's talking about, like, you know, young people are super bummed that Bernie lost, and, you know, and they think like, what's the point? You know, we tried, and what's the point? Well, we, again, as the elders, I guess, the elder statesman, you know, like, we need to remind people that their voice does matter. Even if the person that they wanted to go and represent them is not the person who ends up representing them, your voice still matters. And reminding kids, reminding the vocal youth who is dominating social media that their voice matters. I mean, just as a fucking side note, did anybody see what the K-pop people were doing in squashing White Wednesday today? Like, a bunch of lovers of K-pop like got on social media and totally wiped out white supremacists trying to dominate social media with their stupid White Wednesday bullshit. And they flooded social media with posts of their favorite K-pop bands. People can make a difference. Groups of young people can make a difference. And we have to remind them of that, you know? And yeah, Nicole, I heard Obama speak today and I cried because it was so, it was just heartfelt, and it was reassuring to hear someone speak to me in a comforting way. I miss that. Yeah. So if you could catch it, you can catch it on YouTube. You can catch a replay. I saw it on PBS World News. They were, it was a virtual chat, and go back and check it out. It was a really good roundtable. Obama did the original, boy, and just what a normal guy, literally just like sitting in his room, sitting in his office with like his bookcase behind him, talking to the people, super chill, just, being Obama, being the cool guy who is intelligent and has amazing things to say and is super comforting. And it was super real. Yeah, Helen, it was totally real. And then he stayed on to listen to a roundtable discussion of what can be done in this country to change things,
it seems so easy. But here we have this whole, Republican Party that is just, I don't know how they continue to sign off. I have at some point kind of understood that that this is their job. It's just like we all have a job that we get, that's how we earn a living. Right. And for these elected officials, it's their living. And that is the most, unfortunately, I think that becomes, more important than, I guess it's human nature. It sucks. It's really hard to find someone, who truly represents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they have to spend every waking moment campaigning for the next election.
Yeah.
It's just not a good system. It's just not set up for win. And by the way, all this time, I feel so duped. I feel like all this time I thought, well, the president can't do that. He needs to get approval and all that. And then Trump's just fucking doing whatever the fuck he wants. Of course, he won't get away with everything that he wants, but.
Right.
Cheryl's asking, have we talked about 8 Can't Wait? We haven't. Do I know what 8 Can't Wait? Help me out, Cheryl. Tell me what it is. Tell me in the comments.
I think that later. 8 Can't Wait was the initiative. I think it was announced today, or at least expanded upon today. Cheryl, I did not catch it. I had to.
Oh, yeah, I was working today.
I had to go take care of some business, and it was right in the middle of the Obama thing, right? So I should have watched it. I should have just.
I missed that too. I'll have to watch.
My ass on the couch and watched it, but thanks for posting the link to that, Cheryl. That's awesome, and we should definitely check that out. I need to look at it too. And Tori's mentioning too that it's not just the president, but it's the Senate also. And that is, it's Congress and the Senate. We have to remember that, our system is set up in a very particular way. There are multiple branches of the government. There's multiple facets of the government. When people are talking about the Constitution establishes, the government and the tiers of government, in this country. The Bill of Rights is what we get up in arms about, like the First Amendment, the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, and the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and, all the rights that we are entitled to as citizens. When people are talking about the Constitution, that is, that's government. That's the establishment of government and a check and balance system, and right now I feel like that's been pushed aside, and I don't know why Republican senators and Republican congressmen aren't standing up more for what they believe in. I love Republicans. And although I am a registered Democrat, I'm Republican leaning in quite a few ways. And I like to shoot guns, and I believe in the right to bear arms. And, I do believe in little bits of capitalism, little bits, but it's a system that needs to be reformed a little bit. But there are definitely Republican issues that I value, and the elected leader of the Republican Party doesn't represent any of those values. And that's why I don't understand why his party has just blindly put all of their faith in him. Just get him the fuck out of there and get somebody else in there. There's so many other great Republican leaders to choose from. Unfortunately, John McCain has died, but that guy was a fucking animal when it came to Republican, like the core Republican values. Mitt Romney's doing a great job talking about core Republican values.
Anyway. The inability to.
This is what happens when you meet friends for a drink. You pivot into all different types of conversation. So just.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Please, we called it this because it was like, this is like in real IRL, in real life, we say, hey, you want to meet for a drink? And then it just goes into whatever, topic is on our mind. It could be about work. It could be about TV, but sometimes it's about shit. And sometimes it's about deeply personal shit. And a lot of times it's going to be about current events and what's going on. And I mean, how can we not talk about what happened in Long Beach this weekend? I mean, because it was insane. I really did not prepare for it. Because what I prepared for was true, that the Long Beach protesters were peaceful and were not throwing Molotov cocktails and were not burning, like jumping on police cars and all that. It was just another thing that happened, because of it or during it and all that. And so I just wasn't prepared. I was just really, really shocked, but it was amazing on Monday.
Monday was incredible. Before we move on to Monday, because we definitely need to talk about that. Just to circle back to the Trump photo op, let me just say this. Sir, is that your Bible?
It's a Bible.
A Bible. Come on. I mean, how did his hands not catch on fire while holding that book that he clearly has never held before? I mean, it was like, hold on. It was more like this. Wait. That was ridiculous. And yeah, Tori, General Mattis, fuck yeah. Good to hear from, good that voices are finally starting to speak up, because what they're seeing, they're being outraged by, because they've dedicated their entire professional life to serving this country. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see people standing up. So anyway, we were watching everything go down on Sunday, and we're sitting on the couch and we're outraged about what's happening in our city on Sunday night. And my husband looks at me and he says, well, obviously I'm not going to work tomorrow because we're going downtown. I was like, cool, that's what we're doing. And you and I were on a group chat, so we knew, with a bunch of other business owners, we kind of knew a little bit more intimately what was happening in a couple of districts. We only have friends in a few districts, but we saw that happening. I think you were up, Heather, did you wake up at like 5 a.m. on Monday? Yeah. And I
couldn't sleep. I was like, I started drinking my coffee. I was like, I need to get to work. I need to see it. I need to see what happened. And I live streamed on Facebook and drove around just to the south part. Like, I headed from my house down 4th Street and into downtown and Long Beach Boulevard, like up to 7th Street or whatever, where I knew that I knew that Carl's Jr. strip mall, Walgreens, that whole area. I have to see things. Like, I can't maybe create, like, being detached creates detachment and apathy. And so I, like, even with COVID, it's like, I don't see it. It's this invisible thing. And so I need to see it. And so I needed to get onto the street and see if my friends were okay. And
I needed to see it too. I was up. I mean, I got a notification that you were going live. I think you may have texted or something, but I also got a notification that you were going live, and we had the coffee maker set up to go off at like 5:30. We figured we were just going to be up early. And so I rolled out of bed. Like, Amy Stock is on. Hey, Amy, good to see you. And Amy said, thanks for the live stream. She needed to see it too. I needed to see that. I needed to see what our city, what that portion of the city looked like. I saw some other videos. I think you sent me a video link to a gentleman, maybe a pastor who was up
Steve Richards. I think someone shared it with me. I was unaware of him, but I drove and did Facebook Live from my car, and I narrated the whole time, like, okay, now I see this. And then he did the same exact thing as me, but he drove from like Magnolia and Willow into downtown. And so it was really interesting to see.
It was a perfect little match. It covered like so many different areas, which was great.
Maybe let me see if I can grab his link and post it here.
Yeah, that would be awesome. He at one point drove past Fine Feathers and made a cute little comment about our friends Jay and Jodine in their store, in addition to a bunch of other stores. But so that was really good to see. And so that got me up and motivated. We had coffee poured down our throats and we're like, here we go. Let's do this. We grabbed a bunch of buckets and gloves and, just all kinds of things. And we're ready to head downtown and got to the downtown area at nice, Heather. Cool. So that's
I'm going to post Steve's too.
Cool. And Amy apparently did one for the East Village. Amy, if you have one of the East Village, go ahead and post that link. Yeah, we'd love to see it. Because I didn't get to see that. And I heard about a couple of stores on Broadway in the East Village that got hit, but I didn't realize it until way after the fact. So yeah, we headed down. I think we were all down there by 7 or 7:30. A lot of people online the day after were kind of complaining that they got down there late, like 11:30, and there was nothing to do because 1,500 volunteers descended on Harvey Milk Plaza at 7 a.m., with like buckets of coffee ready to go. And it was incredible. We helped I was kind of in transition between Maid and, the Pie Bar and Romeo Chocolate. So between 5th Street and 2nd Street, I was like walking back and forth a bunch of times, just delivering messages and picking up equipment and, getting food back and forth while volunteer construction companies were showing up and boarding up businesses and volunteers, like, what can we do? What can we do? Do you need help? Do you need water? Do you need food?
People are walking around with wagons saying, would you free water? There's snacks. You showed up with like 4 sandwiches. I don't know where they came from. Yeah. I saw Christy from the Ordinary first thing in the morning, and I was like, I need coffee. No one's open. He took me into the Ordinary and gave me some coffee. Not the most important thing, but I was just like feeling like I needed it was like a sedative. Like I needed some kind of grounding to like get ready for the day.
There was, again, I was in the, 400 block. Was in the 400 block? Yeah. 400 block of Pine. Yeah. And there was this lovely woman and her son who came by with bags of cut up fruit, right? So tons of people brought donuts, and then she came by with fruit, and it was like, oh, fruit! Oh my God, yes! Let's balance out, our blood sugar levels, and paper towels. And she was just like, it's what we can do, it's what we can do, and I think that it was so amazing to see that big, show of community, because it reminded me that is Long Beach. That is Long Beach. Like, those are the people who, like, walking by the Pie Bar, who were like, we'll be back as soon as you open. And we heard the same thing in front of Crest, and we heard the same thing everywhere. As soon as you open, we're going to be back. And what do you need? And what I've seen on social media the last couple of days are like 300 GoFundMe pages set up for business districts all across, from Cambodia town, all the way down, like everywhere. Like, hopefully North Long Beach was feeling as much love as downtown was feeling, and that East Village was feeling. And all the different districts were feeling all of that, Yeah, Long Beach, California, the biggest heart, it is.
Well, we are a small town, big city. So it's like a big city, but it's a city that's, it's a city of neighborhoods. It has a small town feel where, like, I'm sure this is true of most places. Like, we all frequent the places we frequent. Right. But not everyone is outgoing and makes conversations with everyone. But you and I, well,
I don't. Oh my God, I don't know what you're talking about. Is that just me?
I know everyone. Like, every place I go for coffee or food, like, I know the people that work there. I take time to talk to them. I'm one of them. Running a shop in downtown. I'm, so it's it hit home. It really hit home, and. But it brings community together in a different way. And then on top of it, like the whole, like, what COVID?
God, right? Yeah.
I mean, so on top of all that, we had this almost 3 months at this point of being closed. And, we just got all the announcements that we can open. The Socialists just took down their board.
Took down their boards.
Like 2 days before. And on Saturday night, I was in front of Maid till midnight watching the store get boarded in preparation for Sunday. And I was just sitting there thinking, we probably don't need this. It's going to be fine.
You guys were
No,
the
honestly,
ones.
I have no idea if it would have mattered because I saw people just rip down boards. I
know. I remember seeing that too. But I think, we're proactive, in that. Michelle did a great job too.
That was Michelle Molina. Yeah. She made that call. She made it happen. I just went down and supervised, and I was glad to do it. We got really nervous during everything because we realized our back door was not like our back. I mean, it's pretty fortified. I can't imagine anyone breaking in. There's like an upstairs it's just one of those things like.
Yeah, but after watching
her, and because what I saw the Schneider.
Watching those, 60, 100 people pour out of Mark Schneider jewelry. Yeah, that was insane. That was insane to watch. Hey, Tori, love you too.
Love you. Yeah.
I
was watching this guy's YouTube video. It was like Papa's RV, Papa Drew's RV or something on YouTube. But Gene Machine was on the news getting looted. And I've never met the owner of Gene Machine. That's a shop that's been in the streets or what used to be City Place.
Yeah.
Since it opened, and it's clothing and stuff. And this guy was talking about how much he loves the owner of Gene Machine and how he'd been like a really community involved and all that. And so, there's a story everywhere. And I was really glad to see the volunteers did not just stay in one place. Hi, Nina. That they kind of went, like I saw volunteers cleaning on 8th and Magnolia.
Well, that was the thing. And people were willing to, and clearly I'm just going to say this. So it's 6:32. We typically wrap at about an hour, but this is important and we're fired up. And so we're just going to keep talking until we're done. So I saw volunteers who were walking around at 11:30 in the morning and in the downtown area, and there wasn't much to do, but word kept going out that go up to Gene Machine. They just finished taking their pictures and they just finished, of the inside of the property and all the damage. And they just took their boards down and now the glass is starting to fall. And people were super willing to walk to help, you know what I mean? So if they had clearly parked, in the 3rd Street parking garage or something like that, but they were willing to walk blocks to help because they were there and they wanted something to do, and that was also just so overwhelming. We saw Lena Gonzalez, who is a Long Beach local, Senator Lena Gonzalez, who was just all up and down Pine Avenue, coordinating things. She coordinated a construction company to come down and help board up. And she was just amazing. And everything that she was talking to all the business owners and making sure they had everything that they needed. Supervisor Janice Hahn showed up, and she was talking to us and she was asking us, what do you need and how can we help? And how do you feel about all this? And what can we do to facilitate, safe protesting? And she was amazing. I stick my nose into everybody's, I'm like, oh, that's Janice Hahn. How can I get up in there and talk to her? So I knew what was going on with all of them. And it was great to see, these elected officials of ours come down and actually care, and really be a part of what was going on, not just like look at it on their TV from a distance, and make statements or whatever. So it was overwhelming, even my husband, who those of you who know me know that my husband doesn't, he's just not a social guy. He doesn't come out, but he was like, first thing in the morning, gloves on, ready to go, like, let's go help our community. This is what we do. And was so excited to be a part of it. It was really cool, I have to say. And now we're dealing with, intermittent curfews. And, Maria, I didn't see Susie Price. I know she's in the 3rd district, or I think Susie Price, she's in my district.
Yeah, she's here on like Belmont Heights.
I didn't see her downtown, and I was downtown. I don't
know if I know her well enough to recognize her, but I was really stuck in the back.
Yeah.
So I was not out on Pine too much.
Yeah.
We kind of like set up like a little HQ.
Yeah.
For people like our friends that were coming down to help. And so I was just kind of supervising there.
So I was
we
I was
removed
walking down to
graffiti.
you, yeah, and then I was walking up to, from Fourth and then up to Anderson Hardware to
We
get.
got it too.
I made like not five. I probably made 3 trips up and back to Anderson Hardware to get just screws for all the guys on the street on both sides of Pine who were boarding up all the buildings. So, the guys were like, get this, 1/8 inch, whatever sheet metal thing. I was like, okay, I got you. So, I was on the go. I am Keri on the go. If you follow me on Instagram, my personal account. And so I was definitely on the go. I would say I got probably a week's worth of walking in 2 days and my legs hurt. So,
Well, yeah, plus the marching and all that, the protesting and that,
Totally. Yeah, for sure. Which I look forward to being able to do again. Again, I was saying, there's more protests that are scheduled. It's if you are at all active on social media, I would say just check it out because there's more stuff that's popping up and it's organized. There was a really good peaceful. All these are peaceful protests, and I worry that curfews are being extended now until later in the evening, and we might see some looting pop up again because of that. I certainly hope not.
I mean, there's something left to loot.
Well, everything's boarded up, so yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, businesses had been closed for like 2.5 months. There's not like there's a bunch of money sitting around.
Right.
There's clothing, the inventory and the damage is the worst part because, it costs money to replace glass. It costs money just to board up. The boarding up is not cheap.
Well, that's exactly it. And insurance companies don't cover, riots, like, oh yeah, that's what I heard, Cheryl, is that it was beautiful on the bluff tonight.
Yeah, I would have liked to go to that, but there just wasn't time between that and this to make it. I wanted to at least kind of do a drive-by because, yoga on the bluff is already so beautiful. I can just imagine like seeing all those people there. If you went to it and you, did anyone else that's watching go besides Cheryl? Let us know what it's like.
Yeah, we know that Lori and Gio were down there. We got a couple we got a couple pictures. And I saw that Brian Addison posted that there was a huge, like, it was kind of a silent protest, which I also think is really cool because I like protests in a lot of different iterations in a lot of different ways, I appreciate, believe me, I'm a loud person who speaks to the back of the room every time I talk in a crowd of people. But I also appreciate the different facets of it, because sometimes you're not in a place to speak to the back of the room. Sometimes you just need to be silent and let your voice be heard that way, and that kind of circles back to what I was saying at the beginning of the show is that I just want to say this to people who feel like, gosh, I feel bad for not participating. Don't feel bad for not getting out there. Your voice can be heard in a lot of different ways. Even if it's a conversation with someone to register to vote, even if it's a conversation to remind someone that there are people who have different experiences in life than what we have, and it's important to remember what those experiences are and to respect that and to stand up for injustice, whether it's on the street, across the street, someone you don't know, or whether it's in your own family at Thanksgiving, right? Or, we all have somebody, who we've let slide for such a long time. And it's okay to say enough. You can't, that is not okay anymore. Old ways are not okay anymore. The old generation, we've given them a pass for such a long time. Like, oh, well, my uncle, he's, it's just not, we can't just wait for, this is going to sound super harsh. We can't just wait for the old racist generation to die off in order for change to happen.
Right.
We need to let them know that it's not okay that they think that way and that they act that way. It's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's better for them to be cool before they die,
Well, I mean, I'm just going to be like, not that I'm not a college graduate, but I did read the Chomsky Reader,
Nice.
as any good daughter of a liberal activist would. And
Yes.
Noam Chomsky, says that it's an intellectual's responsibility.
Obligation.
Yeah, like, if you hear about injustice, you have to call it out.
Yeah.
If you hear about ignorance, you're responsible
To
to try
educate.
to educate. Yeah. I
My
mean,
dad,
you cannot, this is the silence part, is like, you cannot be silent, but you don't have to be like what you're saying. You don't have to physically be out on the street. You can also, express your opinion with your money.
yes. Oh my God.
You can shop and consciously, you can look up what companies support what, where they donate their money to. Do they support campaigns? Whose campaign do they support? This is the whole Chick-fil-A thing is, if they're, whatever their political viewpoint, if their owner has a political viewpoint that you don't align with, then you don't have to support them.
That's right. And you can go look
There are
up.
plenty of grocery stores. There are plenty of restaurants. There are plenty of places to get things and alternatives to what, like, the only 5 fucking things that we know about.
Right. And it's also important to go support Black-owned businesses and go educate yourselves to the history of racial injustice in this country by watching films, watching documentaries. There are so many amazing lists of how we can educate ourselves to the injustice that's been happening in this country forever.
Never in a time has information been so available.
Exactly. And access to, access to free movies. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to maybe dig deep and make sure that you're getting it from a source that you trust and all that. You can't just, like, the first Google result is not always the best Google result, but, information is available. You can find things easily and you can ask questions. You can ask Google, you can enter it into the search engine the way you'd ask anyone.
Yeah. And that's important to remember.
People, like, when you come into MAID, I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people that all find out that, we went to the same, doctor, or we went to the same school, or we went to the same concert. I mean, I cannot stress enough how important it is to just talk to people. You would be surprised at how much you learn by just engaging.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of different ways to engage. If you're a little more shy and reserved, that's okay. Don't feel like you're going to be left behind just because you're not someone who can walk up to someone and start a conversation. We have so many different ways of communicating with each other now. Whether it's private message, on Instagram or on Facebook, or text messaging each other, or just an old-fashioned phone call.
I just opened a TikTok for the store today. If anyone does TikTok, please, I need some followers. And Rachel made some funny videos today. So
of course Rachel did.
Yeah, she's good awesome. Like that.
I miss her. That's good. Heather, it's been so great to talk to you. Yeah. I mean, this has been a really hard week, and Maria is posting up a couple of, thebailproject.org. Donate to bail funds for sure. Peaceful protesters are being hauled away by the fucking van full. And anything you can do to help get those people out of jail quickly is very good. Especially, and keep in mind, because especially with, we all expect that from Rachel, Nicole, especially with the curfews in effect, bails, courts in multiple cities are being closed at different times. And so we certainly don't want to see people trapped in jail overnight over a peaceful protest, right? So keep that in mind. And if you're not signed up for the city, if you're a City of Long Beach resident and you're not signed up for the Long Beach alerts and haven't had your phones being blown up all day, like, just sign up for it, because then you won't have to go on all of the Facebook things and say, is there a curfew today? What time is curfew? Well, is the curfew like at 1 or 6 or 5 or 9 or what? Just get the fucking alert when it comes out, and then you'll be just as informed as anyone else. Like, it's so easy to be informed. Just do it. Make yourself available to the information.
And it's not always going to come to you.
I'm sorry I'm finger wagging, but
it's not always going to come to you. You have to search for things. So like if you're looking for, try to look it up, do a little work yourself. I mean, this is what we rely on for business. Like we do as much as we can to get information in front of you for our events, for our little talk show here. But we, people need to be looking for it. So speaking of that, please, if you like this show, please invite your friends to like it and invite them to watch it. Have a watch party. And when you can have a physical watch party, have a physical watch party. We can have drinks together, and you can bring it. You can tell us some subjects you'd like to talk about. We can bring you onto the show. And, it's fun. It's not always fun, I guess. Sometimes
it's real. You know what it is? It's real. And that's exactly. Hey, Damon. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? It's real. And that's just what we're trying to go for. It's just a real life. I mean, that's what we're all hoping for, right?
One of the things I was telling you.
Life.
Yeah, and one of the things I was telling you is that you and I have a unique perspective. Not everyone actually knows business owners.
Yeah.
And we know a lot of them.
Yeah.
We know a lot of small business owners, and not everyone knows business owners. They don't get that perspective. And so if there's anything we can offer in relation to that, I posted a link to Long Beach Locals Facebook group because I saw that she's going to start sharing all the GoFundMes that people are sharing. So just so you know, I have seen Eddie twice now from Outfitters, the owner of Outfitters. He has a GoFundMe. He got looted, and I posted the link for the GoFundMe on the Long Beach Locals page because Gene Machine has one.
Press has one.
P&B Liquor, PB&J. I can't get it right because my mind says PB&J.
I don't know what it is.
Not what it is.
But Cambodia Town has their own GoFundMe page as well, Cambodia Town. So,
and I think since March, because of COVID, we've all been like, now more than ever, you need to support local business and small business. But once again, I'm asking, please, after this, if you can change like your shopping habits. For those of you that don't need to, then this message is not for you. But just like the Meatless Monday, pick. You don't have to do it for everything. You can still go to Target. You can still go, shop on Amazon. But please try to introduce some small business, local brick and mortar shopping into your monthly spending, whether it's gifts, food, like go to Crest Market. It is more expensive. That's okay. It's a boutique.
They have really cool things.
Don't do a grocery cart worth of shopping there. Buy a few things. You don't have to change your whole shopping products, or shopping, rhythm or whatever. But go there. It's just try. Just please, I'm challenging you to just add a little bit to your already shopping. I know it's easy to go to Target and Amazon to buy a gift, but it's just as easy to come to the street over at Made, Twig and Willow, Prism, Songbird, The Hangout, all of our local stores, and plus you can see me and you can support Keri. Candles. There's a whole SNL skit about candles as gifts because come on.
It's true. It's so silly, but it's true.
That's what the people want.
And it's important to remember to support, support Black-owned businesses,
Absolutely. Well, they're all in that.
Reach out and find that, and women-owned businesses and LGBTQ-owned businesses. This is one of the things that I've been reminded of is that, there are struggles for tons of minority groups constantly.
Including women, by the way.
Including women, by the way. Yeah. I had a conversation with someone recently, and they were like, gosh, I've never really felt, I've never really realized that our rights were being infringed upon. And I'm like, really? You have a fucking uterus. Like, you didn't realize that, you know, your rights have been infringed upon for a while, you know, and I'm not part of the queer community, but I mean, there are so many communities who have been fighting this fight for such a long time. And it's so important for all of us to just, again, be vocal.
Everything. It's even punks, hippies,
sure. Totally.
Anything that's like a group.
Yeah, it's on the fringe. It's on the fringe.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you're into is a subject of some kind of judgment, profiling, because people don't understand it.
Sure. You know, it's what people don't understand. It's the Muslim community. It's the Jewish community. It's even
the Jehovah's Witness community.
Yes, Heather, exactly.
Well, I have that in my family. I've just mentioned it because I was just thinking about it this week, and my ex-in-laws, you know, all of those, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
All of these. You know, I'm losing my thought because I'm getting drunk now.
Yay. So it's time to go eat, and we're going to wrap it up because we've gone an hour. We've gone 20 minutes over when we usually go. And so, and now
we had no guest.
I know. We had all of you as guests, and thank everyone for
Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Please watch us next Wednesday, 5:30. Thanks for continuing to do this. I need to get back to work. Bye, Nicole.
We'll probably have a bartender and a guest on next week. So get ready.
Or we won't, because something else that's important takes over. That's fine too.
It's dynamic over here. You know, we're not a static show. We're a dynamic show. We go with the flow. We know how to
dynamic duo, Wonder Twin power. Let's see.
Activate.
Put your hand this way.
Damn it. Bing. There we go.
Yeah.
Did that work? I hope that works. That looks good. All right, you guys. Thanks so much, everyone. Be safe and just, you know, be true to yourself and look out for your community. Be involved. Be involved as much as you can. We love you guys, and thanks for tuning in. And we can't wait to see you next week. Thanks, Long Beach, and everyone else.
And credit music.
Thanks, Amy.
Bye, Samantha. Bye, Joe. It's like I feel like Romper Room, and I
see right.
And I see Lisa, and I see Nicole, and I see Amy. I see you, Keri.
Oh, hey, Heather. I see you. Bye, Heather. Great to see you.